Hello 3D print Star Wars cosplay fans. In this video, I will show you how I made this super cool Star Wars inspired heavy revolver blaster called an HR-19 Alpha with working LEDs. Let's go. So this project was just a pure joy to print. I mean, it was easy. A few things needed supports, but they came off really easy. I want to show you one of them here. I put this back on, but all I did was kind of clip the supports here at the top, so it printed like this, vertically like that. But I mean, once you snip it off, look how easy that comes off. Look at that, and look at the detail right there. I cannot wait to start printing this. Now I'm gonna have to do some sanding. Again, my printer settings needed some tweaking. You know, I can, you could probably see that too. Just some ridges there. I mean, everything needs sanding, but it just looked so awesome. And you know, these pieces here, you could tell I need to take that centerpiece out, but yeah, it comes out pretty easy. Yeah. And now there's two versions of this thing. I printed the one where you're actually going to put LEDs inside here. And I mean, if you're going to print it and do it, you might as well do it up, right? So like I said, everything just printed really well. There's a lot of detail on here. Like, look at that ring. You can see the ridges on that. Like, just a beautifully well designed print. You know, it printed like that, went up. And this right here, you could tell, like, that's just going to pop right off. And I still have issues with stringing. This was really bad on this piece here. But just to show you, like, this should just pop right off. Let me get my tool. But yeah, see, that's all support right there. And yeah, maybe I could use different kinds and save some filament, but I just would rather not chance it. But see, you can see like there's a little dotted line right through there. That's great. I mean, that means it should just pop right off. Just like that. I was hoping it would just pop out. Oh, that whole thing right there. Oh, wow. Oh, look at that. Artist put the little froggy on there. Watch your eyes. You never know what's going to fly up. See, it's just going to pop right out. Well, I've got to be careful. I mean, this is pretty solid. Like, I don't have to worry about breaking it if I get on it too hard. But boy, there's some prints you just have to be so delicate. Keep meaning to get a little thing that will chop that out. Yeah, maybe an X-Acto knife would have worked, but trigger housing. Aha, that's why. That's why it wasn't popping off. Oh boy, that bottom. I hope that peels off. That's going to be a lot of sanding. Well, it looks like... Oh, okay. I was going to say, it looks like they put a solid piece in here permanently. I don't know. I live in California. They have weird rules about prop guns, but no, that comes out. Okay, so this was definitely the most challenging piece to get everything off. But I wanted to show you this. You know, we got all this like grid spider web looking stuff. That's just the top of the support where it touches the actual print. All right, and so an X-Acto knife, you just gotta have a couple of them, and you can see where I just kind of got in there and started peeling it up, and it'll pop out. Okay, you just have to keep at it. It will need some sanding. If you don't want to, you know, take the time to do all this, you could probably just start sanding, but I did have one casualty. You can see I got a little bit too aggressive and I didn't see the trigger under there, so it didn't pop off, but it's definitely broken. So I'm just going to put some epoxy on there and continue on. But oh no, I'm still digging this. I cannot wait to start putting this together. This went pretty good. I got through sanding most of this. I noticed that on the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, but you could see where the supports really connected right here. A lot of it came up on these surfaces, but inside you can see there's a little pattern. I started out with some 120 and then a little 220. You can see I have some various files here to help me get into the little nooks and crannies behind the trigger. I went ahead and sanded out this little hole right here, which the barrel piece will fit into. Yeah, you just got to keep going, like I say in all my videos. You know, rough it up with some pretty good. You can start with 120. That's what I usually start with. Maybe I go to 400 depending on what I'm doing. But for something like this, just get the stuff up. Like, that's smooth, but it has a pattern on it. Don't spend like all day sanding these things down. Get it roughed in, and then what I do is spray it with the filler primer, and then that will really show you where you need to focus your sanding efforts. And some of these things, I don't know, they look kind of cool to me. Like on the bottom, you would expect this to kind of get beat up when if you're really using it. So I may not do a whole lot to make that nice and smooth. I like my stuff to have a little wear and tear. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's going really good. This is the only piece I've done yet, but let's do the other ones. All right, so about 15-20 minutes of sanding and first coat of filler primer. And it looks pretty good. Like I said, I just don't spend a lot of time on the initial sanding because this is where you really tell where you need to do the work. This looks pretty good. Like, all this is going to be covered up with the handle, so I'm not going to worry about this under here. But here you can really see where those supports were. You see, like, got this like honeycomb all on the bottom here, inside here. So I'm going to sand that down a little bit more, but I think I might just have to put a little Bondo on there. Like, it's smooth, but it does not look it. And once you put paint on there, that's it. Once you put it on there, it shows everything. But real light coat on some of these things, because another piece is going to fit over that. So anytime you put primer on something like that, it will adjust how it's going to fit. So just be careful with that. So I put another coat of that filler primer on the bottom and just really laid into it. It's drying right now, but I want to show you the cartridge. You're going to be working on a lot of these different pieces in parallel, while you're waiting for paint or primer to dry. So this one is really cool. So as I said earlier, I picked the version that's going to have an LED inside the cartridge here. And I'm going to make several of these and just have them on my costume. And without spoiling the other part of it, the electronics part, you can see that there's a lot going on here. And these instructions are incredible. Very well laid out. Very clever the way the artist has the coin batteries set up in here to turn the LEDs on. But I'm not to that point yet, although I do have a lot of the stuff for it. But I want to show you this. And this is the cartridge. You had to take off a lot of the pieces that covered this for support. So you just pop those out. The blue ring is on there because I used it to trace this. Okay, so this little piece here actually goes in on that little stud in there. And it's because you don't want light leaking through these holes right here on top. So you pop this in, and then it covers it up, and then you'll just see the blue LED through there. Just a neat little effect. So this was interesting. I don't have a jigsaw. I have a table saw and a sander. And the table saw is definitely not the right tool to do this on. It was not safe because I'm cutting things that are this small, and I actually got nicked a couple times here. So I would find one of those jigsaws that goes up and down, because this is just not the safest thing. So I had a long piece of plexiglass left over from another project and cut it, and then used this to make the hole. And then what I did was I put it on my sander, and I just kept sanding it down until it fit in there like that. If you don't have a sander and you don't have a really good like a jigsaw or something like that, this is going to be a challenge for you. But I end up usually buying at least one tool for projects like this, and I probably need to go out and get a jigsaw. But that goes in there, and you cut these little pieces here, and these are going to slide in just like that to cover this. All right, so you won't see the stuff on the inside, because the opaque plexiglass will cut it out. And so you'll just kind of glue it in there, and they'll go on the sides like that. And then this thing right here will fit in there. This actually holds the two batteries and the LEDs on the side. And so once you have everything in here, this actually goes in like that, and you'll push it down until this is even with the edge. And then wrap it all up. This will pop in there like that. And then the actual on-off button will poke up through here. I haven't bought that yet, but it'll pop up right there. And so this was another piece I had to do sanding on. It was way, I mean, I could push it in there, but it was so hard to get out. So I ended up doing some sanding on the inside. And then I put this on my belt sander and just really light, let it rotate around like that, because you don't want to chew too much of that off. But I think it fits really good. Like you can tell, it goes in, pops right out. So I'm anxious to get painting on this. I'm just going to put some primer on it. But this is going to be a silver color. It's going to be a really neat contrast to the rest of the gun, which I'm going to paint gunmetal gray. So let's get to doing this. Okay, I am so excited to show you guys this. This blew me away. So there's three pieces here. This is the cartridge right here. We have the barrel, and then we have the handle. And I'm using three different colors here. And I took a chance on this, but dude, I'm just so happy with this. So let me show you. I used this Rust-Oleum 2-in-1 filler sander. Not too bad. Then, as you'll see here in a minute, I'll show you the two pieces that I used the silver on. And then for the barrel, I used this. It's called Textured Dark Bronze. And finally, just a good old satin black for the handle there. And and then this color right here is this. Hammered copper. I got all these at Lowe's, but I'm sure you can find them anywhere else. But like I said, I took a chance on this, and I think it just turned out beautiful. And you can see the little ridges there. I'm not so worried about that, because it's going to fit inside the cartridge like that. But look at the contrast on that. I cannot wait to complete the cartridge. You see, I didn't bother doing the inside. No need. Right here, you can still see, like, I didn't want to put too much on this thing. Where's my, here, let me get, you can see, like, inside there's still some white in the ridge. I think I'm just going to use a very, very fine brush and just put some black in there. I don't know. I just don't want to mess this up. I didn't paint this because I learned the tolerances are pretty tight already, and then once you start painting, it won't fit together right. And that becomes readily apparent right here on the base where this goes in. And you can see I'm having a hard time, and it's already like pushing the paint up right here. So I'll sand this off. So in hindsight, I probably should have put a piece of tape in there and then taped this up right here so I wouldn't have to worry about resanding. But yeah, you can see like right there where I tried to put it in, it just pushes that paint up. But I love this color, this textured dark bronze. Like, it is just so cool. It puts a neat Star Warsy effect on there. It looks great in the light, and it covers up a lot of like the little imperfections that are on here, and it just makes it look more realistic. But I do have this little piece right here that I painted, kind of a neat little effect. Let me take that off and let's reveal it together. You can tell this is on there a lot stickier than that yellow tape. I hope it doesn't peel off. There we go. Real slow. You can tell it took off some of the paint, which is why with this silver I usually do 2 coats. There we go. Wow, look at that. That's gonna be fun to rough up. Wow, look at that. All right. Oh, let's don't stop there. There we go. Not too bad. All right, so now we get to the fun part. Now, I've never soldered LEDs before, and I'm using the version of this that will require internal electronics. It's not that scary. It's not as bad as it looks. And although I've never soldered LEDs together, I've soldered before, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So let's kind of run down what I've got here. The project calls for 2 LEDs. Okay, you're not going to be able to buy 2 of them. I bought all of this on Amazon. I already had this wiring, but I bought this and this. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing. Like 500 of these things for $10 or something, and you'll use them. Same thing. You need diodes. I'm using 2 coin-style lithium-ion batteries. They're CR2032. And so with these 2 in series, we will need a couple of 3 ohm resistors. Again, you can't buy, 2 resistors. So I bought 1,350 of them with different ratings for like $10. Like, it's nothing. I went ahead and bought a new soldering iron. Again, $10. Probably not the best one out there, but it works. And this is all the stuff that came with it. So this little thing here, I haven't talked much about it, but this is the piece that's going to hold the coin batteries right in there. It's got slits that I had to kind of clean out, but that's for the wiring that I have here. So I'm using green and red typically for batteries. For DC power, you use black for negative, red for positive. I'm all out of black wire, so I'm just going to use green. It's all right, don't tell anybody. It's going inside here anyway, and electrons don't care what the color of the wire is. This is the switch, the push button switch that will stick out of the back right here. Again, you can't buy 1, so I bought, I don't know how many are in there, 50. I don't know, you can tell they come from China. I don't know how many there are, but again, like $6 or $8. Like, it's nothing. I already had my wire snippers, and that's about it. So, as I've said, the guy that drew or that laid out this project in 3D and made the pieces in AutoCAD is just brilliant. Everything that you need is laid out in the instructions, like everything. So once you get everything prepped and primed, painted, then you come to this and he tells you exactly how to put everything together. Like, it's foolproof. This part right here, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But let's go ahead to the part that I'm looking at. And he even provides a little schematic. And don't let that scare you. Okay, he's just showing here in a line diagram, you've got two batteries together. The positive comes up here, goes to this part of the switch, and then you have these two resistors in parallel. Doesn't matter if you don't know what that means, doesn't matter. As long as you wire them up just like this, and he shows you how to do it in here, then you'll be good. Even, you know, the 2032 battery cells times 2. He has blue LEDs here, D1 and D2. I want to use blue. I think it looks pretty cool. Maybe in another one I'll use 2 different colors, or excuse me, a different color. But I'm going to go with blue. I like the effect. Okay, so there's the schematic. He shows you how to do it. You're going to solder the resistors like that. Now, the LEDs do have a positive and negative, so you got to pay attention to that. And if you don't know how to do this, just Google it. Like, it's not hard. I'm not trying to be lazy, but it's just, that's kind of beyond the scope of what I'm trying to show you here, right? And here's what you're going to do with the wires, right? So he's got black and red. He's got them looped around those cuts that I showed you. And then it's actually pretty ingenious the way that he does this. And then we connect the switch to the other ends like that. And then we will connect them together like this. And see the loops right here. And so once all that's connected, come on, then you'll put it on that piece there, which I'm not going to bother to paint that. It's going inside. Who cares? But that's what you're doing here. So you're basically, he shows you right here, you have like these pieces of metal that go on the inside of this, and the batteries will touch that. So it's just like a flashlight. You have a positive and negative side of the batteries. You connect them in series to get more voltage. And when they touch, they make this circuit once the button is pushed. So it's kind of cool how he has them nestled in there. And then once you push the button, the circuit is complete and the LEDs come on. I think he's got one more here. Gosh, come on. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so he just shows them all together and on. Really slick. So that's what I'm going to do with all of this. All right, so here's another fun mechanical part about this. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this is the spring mechanism that has a latch on it that allows the barrel to open up so that you can put another magazine in. Okay, so the instructions call for using just a small pen spring that goes right there. I tried to do that, end up messing it up trying to get it in here. So again, went to Amazon, bought 50 billion springs for $10, and I used the one, it's the second one right here. If you can see that, it's the 7/32 compression springs. They also had extension springs. I didn't need them, but they all come like this, so whatever. I'll probably use them in some form. So you get a 3mm dowel, which you'll need some, and then you take the locking mechanism, put the dowel here. There's a hole here on the other side of this, and I did have to use a drill bit to make the hole a little bit bigger because the dowel would not fit in there. And I think that is just a function of some setting of my slicer. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll figure it out. So I just had to kind of bore it out a little bit. So the one thing, since I'm using a spring out of here, the hole that is in here and the hole that's on the back right here, the trigger mechanism, the latch mechanism, it's too small for this spring, but I think this is going to be okay. There's nowhere really for it to go. And this piece right here will fit over that. So I think we'll be okay. Although I think I need to cut that down a little bit so that it will fit. But other than that, I think this cover will keep everything in place like that. So there's some pretty decent movement on there, right? Like I think if the hole in the thumb mechanism here, if it was a little bit bigger, it would do a little bit better. But I think that's good enough. I mean, look at that. That's pretty good, right? And so here, let's do an op test. You can see I sanded this down a little bit just to make it a little looser. So that'll go in like that, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that part later. And then this will just come down like that, and then that holds that in, just like that. So not too bad. And then when you want to open it, you'll just pull that back and lift it up. I wonder if it'll just go down. Maybe if I have the bolt in there, it will. But that's the operation of it. Not too bad. Wow, I really wish I was recording this when I put that cover on, because I didn't need to trim the dowel inside there at all. Like, it just popped right in. So trust the instructions. It works, although I do see I need to put a little bit of black paint right there, because it is visible, you know, when you open up to swap out the little magazine. But not too bad. Man, I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, so the handle was a lot of fun. I was actually trying to go for like a wood kind of color here. I watched a video, I'll put a link to it, where a guy showed a really neat way of doing it. I just didn't have the paint. I'm just like too I don't know, anxious to get this going, because I've had this project for so long. So what I did is I covered the two pieces, the two handle covers, with this Georgia clay. Okay, so that's what we see here. The base coat is this Georgia clay. And so then what I did is I took this asphaltum color, kind of a darkish brown, I guess, and then black. And all I did was take my paintbrush and kind of paint across there, kind of like scrimshaw. So I painted across and then just took a paper towel and wiped it off. And I just kept doing that and doing that and doing that until I got these lines here. Then I took this, it's Rub and Buff Silver, and I used this to just gently kind of go like this. And I used this stuff to show wear. Okay, so of course, like on the bottom, that's going to be pretty worn out. Put some across here along the edges. Did the same thing here. And then just to add an effect, I used this, let's see, antique gold. Antique gold Rub and Buff. And then I just used a Q-tip and I put it inside these little screw holes here. These are faux, like they're not real, but I wanted to make them look real. So I put black paint down in there just to get a little dirty look, and then use the gold on there. And then this little middle part here, I wanted to kind of like, hey, that's supposed to be kind of a brassy look, so I put some in there. And then did the same thing here, but really made it look like it's been through a lot. So anyway, that was my process. You can find tons of videos online that show you how to, if you really want a nice wood finish. But as I've always said, I like to just beat my pieces up. So that was my process. Okay, so now that we got the handle covers done, it's time to put them on the actual lower piece of the blaster itself. So the instructions say use that same 3mm dowel that we used up here, and we're going to insert it in here like I did here. And then what you'll do is just kind of snap that piece on. I thought about just gluing it, but it doesn't look like it really needs to do that. So I put that one in. Let's just push this in. And we'll just kind of do it in reverse. I'm going to give it a few little love taps here. There we go. Felt it go down. Now let's put this one on. I did have to take a drill bit and open those up a little bit. In fact, I still see stuff down in there. I think I'm going to go ahead and try to get that out first. Okay, so I drilled that out, and boy, did I have a heart attack. As I was going in, the drill bit had some resistance, and then it didn't, and it went down. I thought I went through, but I didn't. It's just, again, I don't know what I need to do, but I think it's a function of my inner and outer wall settings, because as long as I've had this 3D printer, I've never been able to just print something else, and just stick them together and have it fit right. It just doesn't happen for me. So, and I could tell here that the hole actually went down deeper than what I could see. Okay, so the drill bit did work. Okay, so now let's just put them in. This should go a lot easier than the first one. Oh yeah, it slides right in. Look at that. Oh, well, that's looking pretty good. I like it. That's still a little, yeah, the edges, you can see where it's rubbing on here. I probably should have filed down or sanded down the black that's on the inside there, but that's all right. It snaps in there once you get it going. So what I've got here is my grandmother's high standard manufacturer. Sentinel was the model, 22 caliber pistol. Now I did some research, and this thing was made in 1942, just going by the serial number. And my grandfather made this holster for her, and she carried this thing everywhere. They lived in New Mexico. They went out in the woods a lot, or the wilderness, the woods. They had a cabin up in Blue Water, and she carried this thing everywhere. Okay, and the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you exactly where a gun like this would have its weathering or its marking from just being out, in the real world. And I do have other pistols, but they're just not holstered. So you don't know, they don't have the rubbings like this one does, right? So there it is. I don't know, maybe I should give a trigger warning. It's unloaded. I just want to show you where this thing has the paint rubbed off on it, because that's something that we always look for when we are, kind of roughing up prop guns. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera a little bit, zoom in so you can see this. Okay, so the obvious places that you would see, kind of worn down paint are the places where it rubs on the holster itself, right? So that's a really high up place on the gun. And so as it goes into the holster, right, it just rubs, right? And you can see it right here. You can see where each piece of the gun has been sitting there since, the 40s, and where it's been rubbing off. Okay, so we see the high surfaces, like right here. You can also see how there's a little bit of rub on here, right? On the cartridge. All right, look at that, all along there. Up on here, the iron sights, they get rubbed a lot, right there. And you can see on the very end of the gun, the iron sight right here, and then right here on the holster, right? Like that's not a glare, like that is rubbed off. That's rubbed off paint. right here and right there, because that's where it goes, right? Like they put it in there, that's how it goes in. Okay, and you can tell it's on both sides, so it rubs down on both sides of the holster. Okay, so this piece right here looks pretty good, you know, as much as they open and close. That doesn't have a lot of paint wore off it. A little bit right here on the trigger. And of course, the most weathered part is the hammer. Right up here, just decades of pulling that thing back. Right there, right? So all along there is going to get rubbed. Inside of the trigger, though, looks pretty good. Not a lot there, but again, right here on the trigger guard, where they just, you know, where you would stuff it in, right there, it's getting rubbed. So the actual handle looks pretty good, right? There's not a lot of worn out stuff on there. There's a scratch right here. Who knows what Grandma was doing with that. Right along here. So anyway, I hope that gives you a good idea of where a holstered pistol would get its rubbing. Okay, so we're going to do this real light, and we're going to do it just like what I showed you on my my grandmother's gun. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit down here, because that's going to get pretty beat up, trigger guard. Let's do a little bit right there. Oh, a little too much. Always have paper towel ready. Be careful. So it goes fast. Probably should have had that ready. Do a little bit right here. Wow, that's pretty thick. Okay, I do not like that. That's way too much. And it's getting everywhere. So I will probably repaint that. Doesn't look that great. But boy, that's a little bit of that goes a long way. A little bit right there. And he'll be operating this thing here, so maybe a little bit on each side. Actually, the part doesn't look too bad. I'm just afraid if I try to retouch it with some black paint, I'll mess it up. It's all right. Do a little bit on this side. And this is where that piece is going to come in. So you want to do a little bit here because it's metal on metal. No, it's probably not a bad idea. God damn it. Okay, that's goddamn. That's not good. Okay, I guess I need to practice up with my rubbing buff. It's all right, because I got the black rubbing buff. It's a lot more practice than what I'm doing, I guess. I'm just afraid I'm gonna make it worse. Well, it doesn't look so bad. That kind of looks like it's just a little worn out. Oop. Wow. It's actually kind of a cool effect. Do that over here. But yeah, I probably should use a different sponge. I'm using two different colors. But I'm just getting a little lazy. Let's try that. I'm gonna put a little bit down here too. Yeah. Wow, okay. I think I will get a small brush. A little bit back on here. I mean, just a little bit. I know the light's making it look more shiny than it really is, but it's not that bad. Yeah, I can tell I need some more practice with the paint. Okay, and they're not going to really see any of this part here. That's where the other piece of the gun fits. I do kind of want to use this. There we go. There we go. It's looking pretty good. Yeah, I'm starting to realize why they call it rub and buff. And paint will have a different effect, that's for sure. But I'm gonna put a little bit more, maybe on the bottom. That's looking pretty cool. Man, it's just such a glare off of that. But it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna do that. There we go. That's good. All right. Good to go. Okay, so I got all the way done with this and realized I didn't hit freaking record. So I'll just kind of show you what I did. This is the upper barrel part. So, you know, as I showed before, real guns tend to wear out in much of the same places, right? So like the iron sights, I put a little rub and buff silver on that. Anywhere the edges are, even here on the edge of the gun, the barrel. Here, I'll put some more on there. But just really light, really light. So along here, put some more on there. This shroud, you know it's going to get beat up. Anything that the holster is going to touch, you know, over time, you start getting holster wear and tear. But like the iron sights usually get beat up. So just have a little fun with it. I like to feather it up like this, because as the paint wears out, and as you keep wearing it out, it tends to feather up and move up that way. So I think that's about all I want to do for that. A little bit more maybe. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so we are at the moment I've been waiting for, and it's attaching the handle to the barrel. And for this, you're going to need what the artist called a Chicago screw, and it just looks like this. Now, in the instructions, he did not specify how big this thing had to be, and I figured I would probably be making other things, so I just bought this assortment, and I'm using this one right here. Oh, off camera. It's a 15 millimeter Chicago screw, so 5 millimeters by 15 millimeters. Okay, so it's got this part, and then you can see inside there the threads for this piece right here. So, as I said earlier, I did sand off some of that. Probably need to sand off a little bit more, but it's not like we're going to be using this a lot. So this goes in here. Oh, that went in pretty easy. And we're going to shut that. There we go. Not too bad. Well, let's put this in. This brass, I'll probably rough it up a little bit. There we go. You can see it right there. So we're going to take this. There we go. There we go. Screwdriver's a little small for this, but it looks like it's working. Something like that. And it's nice and brassy and shiny, so I'll probably rough that up a little bit, but there we go. Just like that. Very good. See, it fits together pretty good right there. Looks like it needs a little bit of sanding to hold that part in. Oh, no, it's in there. Huh, okay, I'll have to work on that. It's not in there as good as I'd like. So probably need to sand out a little bit in there. Right there, maybe a little bit up in there. No biggie. Looking good so far. And so now the only thing left to do is the cartridge, which I already have painted up. Right here, I put the plexiglass in there on the sides, on the bottom, and it'll look something like that. Now this is one part that I did mess up. I was trying to get this piece right here. It's actually a thing that came up right here, and you would stick little magnets in there, then you would stick magnets in here, and then basically just kind of drop it in like that. But I'm just going to use a dowel, so I'm going to have to kind of work with what I got here. That's a shame. I didn't want to reprint the whole thing, but I do need to do the electronics on the inside though. And so, but once it's done, you'll essentially just pop that in there and then close the top. Like that, and there we go. Oh, look at that. Not too bad. Still need to get a piece of plexiglass in there. But wow, that's looking pretty good. All right, let's get this thing done. Okay, we are almost done with this project. I can't wait. So the last thing I was working on here is the scope. And so again, I just did some sanding on it. Painted the two end pieces a silvery color. But on this one, I had some red acrylic left over, so I just kind of filled it in. I think I gave it kind of neat effect. Nothing really going on this end. You can kind of see through it. But for this piece, this goes on this end here. And that one, I had to, if you pull it out, I had to sand out the inside edge so it would fit in. And I didn't even have to glue it. It's in there so tightly I can't even pull it out, so I don't want to mess it up. But yeah, lesson learned. Keep doing this stuff off camera, so apologize for that. But here's the other end here, and so this will go on that side. And I'm just gonna, I had this piece of plexiglass left over, and I just put it on my sander until I made it kind of round. And then I painted it with some really good spray paint. This is not acrylic like the other piece, but I used this Tamiya red. I had this left over from when I made my wife an Iron Man bust head thing, pencil holder thing. So I just put that on there. And so that should go in there like that pretty easy. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, I won't even have to glue that in either. There we go. And then, I'm not sure, but they want me to go like that. It looks like there's a flange, but I don't know. This piece kind of looks like it's in the way, because that looks like it should go all the way in. But if I do that, well, maybe I need to put this in on the front. So, okay, well, I'll try that. I'll put this on first. But yeah, that's gonna need a little sanding, just a little bit. Matter of fact, yeah. Little sanding, so we'll get that done. Just right here, where that, you can see the edge of it right there. So once you put paint on, just that little bit matters. And I also got paint on the inside here, so that's probably why it's not gonna fit. That's all right. We'll just sand that down a little bit. All right, so let's see. A little bit of that fuzz off of there. Oh yeah, see, that's going in nice and easy now. So there you go. So it looks like, yeah, okay, very cool. Okay, that's a little, well, that's a lot easier to take off. Man, I tell you, this guy designed this so well. So it is designed for the plexiglass to go in there. Maybe mine's a little too thick. But oh my gosh, look at that. So I'll just do some retouch paint. I think that's probably pretty good. Because if I stick it in that way, I don't know. I don't think it'll come out. Let's see. Because that just has a flange. This looks like it's supposed to go all the way down. Yeah, see? All the way down. But I don't know what that's going to sit on now. Yeah. So... and there's nothing really for this to rest on, even if I did get it in there. Well, I don't think it will really matter a whole lot. It's flat up against that flange. And there's a little bit of this that sticks out. Wow, that's kind of weird. I guess maybe my plexiglass is a little too thick. But I think I'm just going to kind of repaint that and glue that in. I like that effect. I mean, it's just going to sit on the top of the gun. I think that's probably what I'm going to do. A bit of that fuzz off of there. Oh yeah, see, that's going in nice and easy now. So There you go. So it looks like, yeah, okay, very cool. Okay, that's a little, well, that's a lot easier to take off. Man, I tell you, this guy designed this so well. So it is designed for the plexiglass to go in there. Maybe mine's a little too thick. But oh my gosh, look at that. So I'll just do some retouch paint. I think that's probably pretty good. Because if I stick it in that way, I don't know. I don't think it'll come out. Let's see. Because that just has a flange. This looks like it's supposed to go all the way down. Yeah, see? All the way down. But I don't know what that's going to sit on now. Yeah. Ooh. So... and there's nothing really for this to rest on, even if I did get it in there. Well, I don't think it will really matter a whole lot. Oop. It's flat up against that flange. And there's a little bit of this that sticks out. Wow, that's kind of weird. I guess maybe my plexiglass is a little too thick. All right, so I did not like the way that was turning out. Okay, so I just took that and I put it on my sander like this, and I just thinned it out. So it's probably half as thick as it was before. So let's see what that does. Yeah, you can see how it did that up. I tried to make it as smooth and as level as possible, but let's see what that does. Okay, it's a little bit better. You can't see so much of the seam now. So I think I'm gonna leave that alone. Put a little, man, I don't even need to glue that down. It's awesome. Well, there we go. Man, all right, I'm liking that. Little effect there. Okay, so now we get to the part I have been waiting for forever. So here's the cartridge. It's all done. I have it snapped together. You can see the plexiglass in there. There's a switch. I have soldered everything together. I want to show you how this looks. I'll turn it on first. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. And this was pretty fun. Like the guy did a great job. Okay, so like here's the schematic or the wiring diagram. If you're familiar with these, it actually helped me out a lot because that's my background. Pop this off. And so you see the switch is off, but it's kind of crowded in there. So I can tell right now that the wires from both sides of my circuit are touching together. That's why it's turning on. Okay, and there's a lot kind of going on in here. See that? So it's just kind of shorting out, which not a big deal. It's DC. But that's what's going on in there. Like I said, those two coin batteries, they fit perfectly in there. And man, I haven't had to solder in so long, so it was really cool to get back into it. Okay, and I'm not even going to go over this. It's so hard to see, I'm sure, but you can see the resistors right here up near the switch. You see the two blue LEDs. And so when you put them in, you just got to kind of be a little careful with it. But I don't even need to glue that. turn it on. That's a little bit bright right there. I mean, I could go in and kind of reposition the LED, but it just looks so good like that. Maybe we need to. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, and my solder joints are pretty good, but I don't want to risk it. And so just push it together like that, do a little op test, and you know, presumably this is going to be at night, and I've got a light shining on this, so it's probably washing it out a little bit. But here's the moment we've been waiting for. Put that right there. Here I have the gun. Put my little screw in there, looking pretty good. So this is supposed to have a bunch of little bitty magnets that went inside a cylinder that was sitting on top that would then go here. But as I was removing the supports, it broke out. Okay, so all I did, just a little more redneck engineering. This is a ferrule. Okay, so this is, you would stick wires in here, then you would crimp it, and this part would crimp down on the wires. So I've got tons of these things. I just jammed it down in there like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Then I'm just going to take that, put it in there like that, close it up, lock it, and there we go. And it does not rattle around. Look at that. I think that turned out really good. I still have to put the scope on here, so let's do that next. But holy smokes, look at that. That is so good. At least for me it is. I can't wait to get that in my holster. Okay, so looking at the instructions, we can see that the larger kind of ridged flanged goes on like this, so that it's pointing toward the rear of the gun. So it's going to go on like that. And again, just I can't praise this guy enough for his drawings. The pins that go into these holes they actually have a shape. They're not just straight in. He actually went in and had this printed at an angle so that the curve would match up. Now I've got paint on the inside of these holes. I've got paint out here, so it's probably not going to just slip right in. I may have to sand those down a little bit. That's okay. It's going to be on the bottom. But I'm just curious to see how well that's going to go. And yeah, I mean, it's fitting on the top, but it's not going in. It's story of my life. So, yeah, just gonna trim the paint off of that. I don't think I'll have to mess with those holes. Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see. But, oh boy, it's almost done. Alright, so I'm just gonna kind of go around the edge here. Try not to scuff up on the body, but definitely under here, it doesn't matter. Just gonna fit. But I think I will go the inside here. So you're not going to go straight down. You can see there is an angle. So I'm just going to stick this in there. It's not round. Well, maybe it is round. So I got another one that's like a triangle, but this looks like, oh yeah, that looks like it's going pretty good. I don't want to go too crazy in there, but I just want to bore it out a little bit. Get something going there. Oh yeah, there we go. There's a little bit of space in there still. There we go. Okay. I think it needs just a little bit more sanding. Like you can tell, it wants to go in, and there's just a millimeter or so of a air gap in there, so that's no good. I'm gonna try to get that. Oh yeah, you can see it right there, pretty easy. So that still needs some work. Thinking some's going to squirt out when I press this in, but that's okay. There we go. Now, this stuff right here is incredible. I'm going to show you this. Okay, so it's called miter appel. I don't know how to pronounce that. Whatever. That's what it looks like. And it sets super glue. Okay, or whatever form you use. Okay, so I would probably have to sit here and hold this for a good 30 minutes or so. But if I just spray a little bit on it, and there's some that came out of the sides, which is actually going to help me. And what this does is it automatically sets the super glue. Look at that. Right there. So I'll just repaint over that. But look at that. So I am going to let the rest dry because there's some underneath. But the stuff that poked out has hardened already. So it's going to hold that until the rest of it dries. So I'll just set that down. Okay, so one modification. I had this ferrule in the this part of the gun where the cartridge is going to slide into, that hole right there. And although the base fits really snug, it's not very tight right here on the other end of the cartridge as it goes in, right? Like that's just way too loose. So I got a dowel, I painted it up, and put some super glue on it. I already measured it, and I think with the paint, it's going to have a real snug fit, but I'm going to put this in there anyway. Just some Gorilla Glue, super glue gel. Kids at the park acting like idiots. There we go, push that down in there like that. And this will have a much more snug fit. There we go, just like that. Man, look at that. I love it. I think that turned out really good. Even if it's not in, you know, the Star Wars universe, that just looks so cool. The one thing I think I would do differently, this is printed with a 20% fill. I would probably bump that up to about 60 just to give this thing some weight. But, you know, if you're cosplaying, you have this thing in your holster, you know, that gets a little heavy after a while, after a day of like walking around, or like me, if you're just doing costuming for Halloween or something, that would get kind of old. But I don't know, I'd be willing to try it out. But let's see what it looks like in my holster. So I had to modify my holster a bit. This is kind of a cheap one I bought online. I'll put the link to it in the video description. But honestly, I mean, this was really good. I just needed something for Halloween. I can probably salvage some parts off of it, but it's just not a very high quality item. But if you just want something for a stuffer, or you just, you know, are in a pinch for something, it works okay. It's just, if you're going to get serious about your cosplay, I would get something a little bit better than this. But anyway, I did have to cut this out right here just because the scope was a little big, and it was only going to go down into the holster about that far. And that's just too much of the the butt of the gun sticking out. So I just cut it, and now it fits a lot better. But all in all, this was a great piece. The kids loved it on Halloween. I didn't pull it out except to get a picture taken a couple times, and they loved it. And of course, the adults that are into Star Wars, they loved it too. But just such a cool project to do, everything from start to finish. I know this video was a little long, but I just felt it was important for you guys to see the whole process, because I look at a lot of videos when I'm learning how to do this stuff, and they cut out all the kind of pain in the ass stuff, and I get why, but I don't know. I just feel it's important so that you guys can be like mentally prepared on how these projects go. So thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe. I'll do more of these, but thank you so much. Take care.